Looking for an unbiased review of the new Green Day album? You're in the right place, trust me. As a man whose favorite band is Green Day, I can guarantee there is a 0% chance of cross-contamination between my objective opinions and the music that I just so happen to enjoy outside of work. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to talk about saviors now. Hey neighbor, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John, and it's time for a review of the 14th studio album Saviors by the iconic Bay Area punks Green Day. This is actually my final scripted album review for now here on the main channel. I've been doing dedicated reviews of new albums for 15 years, since 2009, and if you don't believe me, go to my channel and sort by oldest. Don't you worry, this YouTube dinosaur will still be dropping some unscripted reviews over on the second channel beyond ARTV, and if you're wondering what's happening to the main channel, well, it hasn't really been review focused in a while, so ARTV is going to continue to be home to the more polished, edited music content, and everything else will live on the second channel. Please make sure you're subscribed both here and there. Thank you for your continued support. It blows my mind and means the world, and if you could help me get this video to 2,000 likes, we'll unlock an updated ranking of Green Day's albums. But for now, let's dive headfirst into the world of saviors. Green Day went off the beaten path following a pair of game-changing rock operas in the 2000s. The album trilogy Uno Dos Tres was marred by stale, repetitive song structures, but they bounced back following Billie Joe Armstrong's stint in rehab that later resulted in the fiery Revolution Radio. Then it got worse. The curse of album 13 actually happened, and Father of All Motherfuckers released exactly 1 month before the pandemic shut down the entire world. I'm not saying that should have been a wake-up call, that it just wasn't the right move, that album, but most of us can probably agree it's not great, and that's putting it nicely, with many of the issues again tied to production and shoddier songwriting. Progress on LP 14 was slow but steady during lockdown, almost like the guys were throwing us off the scent by dropping studio snippets, only for them to not lead to an announcement, love that, until Green Day finally confirmed Saviors last fall. Rob Cavallo producing, Chris Lord-Alge mixing, that's the fucking dream team for Green Day right there. I heard 3 of the 4 singles before the album: the bubble-bursting anthem, The American Dream Is Killing Me, its B-side, the Insomniac sounding Look Ma No Brains, then the massive jaw-drop Dilemma, which is the best damn song that they've done since American Idiot. Excitement was there for the first 2 singles, and I'm not denying they're great tracks. It's just Dilemma is shockingly personal. No metaphors, no backing vocals. Just a drop-D rock banger reminiscent of What's-Her-Name that pitted Billie Joe's talents against his addiction. Saviors is not only Green Day pushing forward with a huge rock album that could and should reignite their popularity, it's a victory lap cementing the many lanes they've traveled in throughout their decades-spanning career. At first glance, the song titles might sound weird, but it's kind of refreshing that they didn't do something else in the vein of a rock opera, or else try to title it as so, because that would feel a tad bit forced. So to hear these incredibly spry bass lines, Trey's jubilant drumming, ringing riffage from Billie Joe, they're still playing their hearts out and not taking themselves too seriously, at least not all the time. The guitars have such a fervor this time, which you can probably credit to Rob Cavallo, or more importantly to the Billie Joe Armstrong Show, who somehow is still finding dope ways to crank out the power chords and slide in some really nuanced playing on the likes of Fancy Sauce or even the outro of Coma City. Trey Cool is so ridiculously good in the pocket. He's Green Day's Iron Man champ, who could easily phone it in if he wanted to. They're a band in their 50s, a simple drum beat might suffice, but status quo ain't no match for the world's most dangerous drummer. Let's give Mike Dirnt his flowers, because I saved arguably the best for last. Maybe not the best overall, but the most admirable. Mike makes it impossible to ignore his stellar contributions to Saviors, whether that's perfectly toned backing vocals, melodic pumping bass grooves, or just the energy he brings to the studio and the sets every time. There's an increased callousness to Billie Joe's somewhat jaded lyrical perspective, which is more than understandable for the man that warned of a nation controlled by the media 20 years ago. Little did he know we'd be living in the worst timeline for media, social and traditional, whatever the hell that means now. They're still in tune with the pulse of a new generation and the many problems stacked against them as they channel that fear but make it consumable and anthemic. Like, yeah, the odds are ever not in your favor, but might as well tattoo it on your forehead and scream along. There's an apathy there many of us feel on a spiritual level, like the American dream is killing me. The walls are closing in around us, crushing out the soul of our nation, but don't tell anyone, just smile and wave. 15 songs make up the album, and I can honestly say it's a no-skips record. Every song brings something good to eat to the table. Yeah, some more than others, but I've heard Saviors more than a dozen times, and I'm still hungry for more. There's a voice in the back of my head saying,
what about the pacing? What about the flow of the album? Is it a kind of weird song to song with the different energies?
And after a heated internal debate, it looks like Rage and Love wins again. I'm not bothered by the changing atmospheric pressures because they seem to complement the all-encompassing vibe Saviors has going, from the more tender cuts, Father to an All. Come on, you know I had to slide that in there. Father to a Son, or on the flip side of the coin, the raucous punk cut in 1981. Brighter melodies are used to offset the anger and apathy flooding the heart of Saviors. Not to call this a mad or even sad album all the time, but y'all already know Green Day do this pairing so well, as evidenced by their breakout single Basket Case 30 years ago. With this being such an important release and review, let's go track by track to see why Saviors is more than the sum of its parts, so to speak. Classic Green Day right here. The towering opening chords ring out like a shot heard round the world, laying down tracks like a railroad, or to put it simply, the song is great, punchy, captivating, and has a nice little solo to send it over the moon. Old school fans should have a field day with Look Ma No Brains, and who could blame them? I'm with you 1000%. 2 minutes of pure ecstasy doused in sarcasm, then set on fire with Mike Dirnt's walloping bass groove. Screeching guitars balance the mix without trampling the rhythm section. It's a really cool knockout punch that should sound even better when chanted along to live. I have to admit, I wasn't sold on first listen. It wasn't a dislike, it was more of a, Billy's really yelling and kind of screaming on that chorus. These lyrics are a little bit corny, but then 2, 3, 8 listens deep, plus the music video coming out, everything clicked. Billie Joe is bisexual, so do you want to be my boyfriend or girlfriend could be interpreted literally, but on a larger scale, it's about swapping perspectives with his wife as they grow older together, and bonus points because it's inclusive as fuck, which is something Green Day had been doing since Dookie. R.I.P. Matthew Perry. You were the best thing about Friends, and I didn't know where else to say this. Bada boom, bada bang. One-Eyed Bastard is reminiscent of 21st Century Breakdown in the sense that it's very theatrical. The snarling lyrics tighten the noose of the oppressor by almost kind of taking on their point of view, kind of like what Billie Joe did with Bang Bang. Pianos dip into the mix alongside distorted riffs and a big old sense of bombast that might translate even better live in concert. It's a skull crusher and an obvious single choice, reminding me again of just how diverse the album's landscape is. Gonna sound like a broken record, but I mean, what else do you want me to say when Green Day drops their best song since American Idiot? The opening notes swoon like something out of an older time, like the 50s or 60s, before kicking in the saloon door with the rare drop D tuning as Billie Joe enters the confessional booth with the weight of sobriety on his shoulders. Dilemma absolutely stands shoulder to shoulder with some of the best songs they've ever created, and I can't wait for this to be hailed as a future classic from the band. Fast, punky, danceable, 1981 might be the oldest song from the sessions, but it's definitely not the slowest. This is a rock ripper daydream about another time in life, a simpler time where it wasn't all rose-tinted glasses, but it does do a great job at capturing the essence of a live jam finally sharpened and perfected in the studio. Goodnight, Adeline is one of the defining songs of Saviors, a testament to the isolation addiction forces on the addict, with Billy Joe juggling the fear of choosing booze over his family with the desire to continue drinking. The hint seems to be right there in the chorus, with him singing Goodnight to Adeline, which I can only assume refers to the bar scene in Oakland. Sweet acoustic guitar rhythms nurture the verses, with a knocking roll of distortion leading into that huge chorus. Trey nails the lighter weight needed from the band's timekeeper, helping to emphasize certain lyrics and building up to that really tasty guitar solo. Coma City might not be one of the most ambitious of the 15 new songs, but I really do think it lands somewhere in the top half of the pack. For one, the outro is ear candy thanks to searing guitars, choppy drums, and a bass maneuver hell-bent on digging its way to China. Lesson 2? Sometimes you just need to let Green Day cook. The anti-gun, anti-billionaire establishment is the perfect, simple middle finger to the assholes in space, like the blatantly milquetoast ball bag Elon Musk. Oh, I'm sorry, Elon. I forgot you were the one pathetically raging for the machine, you divisive sack of bird shit. Anyways, yeah, Coma City is an electric vibe and a half with a lot of great elements packed in there, so don't sleep on it. Where the fuck is Will Ferrell when you need him?
Is the song still going on?
Corvette Summer is a racing pinstripe, a heater primed for rolling down windows, taking in a big old hit of smog, rolling them back up, and fantasizing about how good summer must have felt 40 years ago.
Outside my window, there is nothing but a sky.
Hearts Explode on Suzie Chapstick, a lovely musing on life's lost connections. They house the stinging feeling of grace under pressure, taking the time to not just wax nostalgic for the sake of it, but to truly ponder why certain people come and go without ever taking the time. This is one of the best deep cuts on Saviors, and I sincerely hope it doesn't become one of their forgotten gems, because it's serenity in a bottle, gentle but just as engaging as the high-octane tracks. The next two songs are a dynamic duo that set up an excellent final run for Saviors. Strange Days Are Here to Stay pinpoints the death of David Bowie in early 2016 as a cultural turning point, and I have to wholeheartedly agree because nothing has been the same since that year, which was mostly a good year, but it ushered in a new wave of extremism that sadly isn't going anywhere. Green Day in their 50s are still able to make a connection to newer generations that feels genuine and not try-hard or preachy, more like they're looking down from a metaphorical observatory, riffing on what they've seen and combining it with the flavor of Rev Rad for a powerhouse.
Ain't that a kick in the head? Ain't that a kick in the head?
Angry Green Day is one of the best masks they can wear. Billy Joe chomping out the lines, "I've got a buzz like a murder hornet, I drink my media and turn it into vomit," goes so hard, kinda like a kick to the head. Shrieking guitars conjure up visions of a 21st century breakdown rusting in the flames, bursting through the noise to remind us of our humanity and the fact that we are so similar despite our perceived differences, yet knowing that we're collectively too dumb or else ignorant to do anything but sleep now and fire.
A place you want more than I could give.
Lighters up, phones off, tissues on standby. Unless you hate your dad or your dad's a shitty person or something. Father to a Son hits like a ton of bricks when you consider Billy's own dad died at such a young age, inspiring the evergreen hit Wake Me Up When September Ends from American Idiot, and now this tribute written in stone for his children. Warming strings make their way onto the record to aid in elevating the level of emotion in the air. It's easy to get cheesy with this stuff, but it doesn't feel hammed up as it starts off slow, rising with the swell of the band to chemically connect as the stars align.
Calling all strangers.
Kings, queens, in-betweens, we've reached our album title track saviors. But don't be deceived. Hopeful intentions are here, but they dissipate slowly throughout as the yearning gives way to defeated acceptance. The final line of the song erases the word tonight from the "Won't somebody save us" line in the chorus, which seems to imply that they're very aware that our leaders are never gonna get their shit together to actually save anyone other than them. That doesn't stop the boys from laying it on thick. It's intoxicating musically thanks to some persuasive rhythm section gusto and a subtle flex that they're one of the last rockers of their generation making this kind of commotion.
As we all die young someday.
Disenchanted thoughts of an aging rocker. The Billy Joe Armstrong story. Fancy Sauce wraps up the album in a depressingly honest fashion by rattling off a chain of events and complaints that reminds us of this incredibly weird paradigm we're trapped in. This is how you end a record. It actually feels like a proper send-off, as it sticks around to be the longest on Saviors, heating up with a loudmouth guitar ending that lets every member of the band crank the fuzz knob to 11 and vent through the lens of their chosen instrument. Green Day never lost their spark. How many bands that formed in the 1980s can still say that? They never broke up, never went on an extended hiatus, never backstabbed each other, never jumped off the deep end like some aging rockers tend to do. They continue to stand their ground, unwavering. And for that and the incredible work they did to make their 14th album appealing, agile, accessible, and fully loaded, I salute them. They bounced back from the worst outing of their career to deliver this massive cannonball crashing right through the gates of what people said they could no longer do. Saviors is unmistakably Green Day, political and apolitical, a future classic, and definitely a contender for a top 5 spot in their discography, which is saying something. A killer record from God's favorite band deserves a killer score. Saviors lights up a 4.5 out of 5 from me. This album made me feel alive, so thank you for watching and liking my review. Actually, all of my reviews over the years. That support has never ceased to amaze me. Look forward to more music content right here on this channel and over on Beyond ARTV, which you should check out now. There's plenty of Green Day content to catch up on here, but for now, dearly beloved viewer, it's good night and thanks for watching ARTV.